All right, ready?
I'm ready.
All right, we're live. Thank you so much, Sam Shepard, for joining. We might have some others that join and they might pop on from my Dreaming English group, but today we are going to talk about jobs, and particularly we're going to talk about Sam is somebody that used to work with me and used to help people with like their college applications and stuff, but now Sam works in the real estate market, both in like selling stuff and also the mortgage stuff. So, would you want to talk a little bit about those jobs that you have? You kind of have almost two jobs in a way.
Yes. Firstly, thank you for inviting me on. Rochelle, it's good to be back with my old coworker.
We
And
are going to oh, hold on. About
yep.
it's go ahead.
Okay. Sorry. But yes, pretty much it is like two different jobs. The mortgage for me, the mortgage job is my full time, 8:30 to 5 o'clock. And then real estate is kind of my after work part-time job, which I probably do about 8 to 10 hours a week. And I guess which one should I talk about first? Real
So
estate
maybe
or
like considering that, I mean, people around the world might know what real estate is, but maybe they don't. So maybe let's talk. What does it mean? Like, what does real estate mean, and then what is mortgage?
yes. All right, perfect. So pretty much real estate refers to properties. I particularly have been dealing with residential properties. So like where you live, your house, your home for people.
So, like,
And
if I was going to sell my house, I could call you up and you could help me sell it, right?
yes, as a real estate agent, I can help you buy a house, or I can help you sell your house. And
What
then
if I
and
wanted to get an apartment? Could you help me with that too?
I could help you. It depends. There's the landlord kind of has different ways. Each landlord's different. Some would pay me a little bit for me to bring you to them. In some cases, maybe you would pay me just to me. So I try and do things not to overcharge people, especially my friends. So I would make sure that yeah, I could definitely help you find a place and at least to just go over the options. And there are some details about houses that I've probably focused on a little more now that I'm an agent, compared to how I used to think about homes and stuff before I became licensed.
So, what was it like, to start to, get into this? Like, what did you have to do to, like, get into selling, doing the whole being an agent for selling a house? Can you just go and do that? Or do you have to, like, what do you have to do to be able to sell and be, like, a
Yep,
real estate agent?
that's a great question. In Massachusetts, you have to take a 40-hour class, kind of like an education, how to be an agent. And then after the class, you're eligible to take a test. Um, and so for myself, I was working at Mass Edco, and I wanted to have a little part time. Um, and so in November, I signed up for the class. It took me about 3 months to finish it. It was go at your own pace. Then I studied from about March or April till until August 1st. I took the test August 1st. And pretty much it's kind of like learning English. You you have a routine, you do it every day, and over time you build confidence for the test or for speaking English, just the experience of speaking. But
So, you have,
um,
like, two jobs. You do the real estate agent and you do the mortgage. So, like, how come you have, like, the two jobs?
they are both, it's both in the same industry.
Mm-hmm.
Real Buying a house, selling a house, mortgage, you're both working on someone's house pretty much, but they are two different services. Being a real estate agent is much more about having a relationship with people, being being I represent my client. There's another client and another agent on the other side, and I'm kind of the middleman, or I communicate what my buyer would like to the seller, and they communicate what they need from us, from myself and the buyer. For mortgage, it's more about, if you're going to buy a home, a lot of people take out a mortgage because homes are a lot of money.
So
And
that's like,
mortgages,
so a mortgage
yeah,
is a loan for the house,
mortgage,
like,
yeah, exactly. Has to do with loans, and mortgage actually reminds me a little more of kind of what I was doing with EOC and Mass Edco. You meet with people, you gather information. Uh, it's a little more. It's you know they look at that information and then they decide if they'll give you a loan with high interest or low interest.
so if you, like,
Yeah,
why would you get, like, why would I, if I get a loan, why would I get high interest or low interest? What would be the factors?
if you seem like there's a little more risk, or if there's a little uncertainty about your situation, um and the state of the country more or less also dictates generally where the interest rate is.
Okay.
um Interest is a lender's way to get paid for providing the loan. So
Okay.
right now inflation is going up. The
Interest rates
price
are going up, right?
exact interest rates are going up.
Mm-hmm.
um but so that's kind of the floor. And then if your situation is very certain, if they say this person can pay the loan back and we don't expect a lot of difficulty, then the interest rate will be lower, you'll pay less. If your situation is a little less secure, if there are a few questions about is this person able to pay back, then the interest rate will rise. But in both cases, the person gets the mortgage to buy a house.
And so, like, how much do people, how much are houses in, like, Massachusetts, first of all? Like, what's, like, the
It,
range?
yeah, it's it depends on what part of Massachusetts. In Eastern Mass, Boston, very popular worldwide. The houses in Boston are, even a small house could be close to $1 million.
$1 million.
With Yes, and but whereas out in Worcester, where we work, Rochelle, um, you could get a house for maybe like two or 300, that maybe 300,000.
And so the house in Boston for $1 million would be like very, very small. And then in Worcester area where we work, maybe it's like a 3 or 4 bedroom house, like much bigger.
Yeah. Well, it's just, even you could have the same exact house in Boston sell for 1 million, and that same exact one in Worcester is going to sell for 300,000. It's just because it's in Boston, it's a higher price.
Okay.
A-
And
As yeah,
what's the percentage, like, if people, like, if they get a mortgage, how much do they, what do they, how much of the loan and how much do they have to put down?
that's a good question. There are lots of loan programs. One very common program when you buy a house for the first time, it's called a first time home buyer loan. And you only have to pay 3 to 5% of the house price. So it turns out, like, if you were going to buy a house for 100,000, you'd only have to put 3,000 or to 5,000. But in general, a conventional loan is like I would say, a common loan. That one, maybe you put 20% down. So if you were going to buy a house for 500,000, you'd put down 100,000.
Wow.
So it is, but but there are advantages to putting a lot down. And so there's just a lot of
A
programs
lot of things to it. And
for
so
veterans. Yeah,
for
go ahead.
veterans, what about veterans?
For
Veterans
veterans,
are people that served in our military.
people, our government recognizes their sacrifice, and they have a loan type that in some cases you don't have to put any money down. You don't have to. It's just this program is a very good program for veterans.
Okay. And so why did you want to get into this and, like, leave us at Mass Edco? What was, like, so attractive to this type of work?
Pretty much. So it really was the case where I had spent 3 years at Mass Edco, and I I would say that my biggest takeaway was that I loved working with clients. I love to work with people, to talk with them, to help them learn or understand. I'm just someone that likes to work with people. Um, I was thinking actually I would do real estate and Mass Edco together for a while, but when this I for the mortgage, a little job notification popped into my email, and it was entry level, so you don't have to have any experience. Um, and I thought that it would give me perspective on because ultimately I want to be a loan officer. I want to
Okay.
be working with people as their guy, explaining how the mortgage works and setting them up. So pretty much from Mass Edco, I thought I really want to keep working with people with education, with the loans and that process. I felt like there's 10 or 20 questions. What's the Stafford loan? When do I have to submit my paperwork for college? I think it's going to be very similar in real estate, just with different questions and different answers to those questions. So
Actually,
I
I did
still get
work
to
in
love what I
mortgages
do.
like 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I
Yeah.
worked in mortgages for a very, very short time. So I do have some experience. So what is your exact job in mortgages? You said you want to be a mortgage officer or originator, but what
Yes.
is your actual job? What do you do?
Yep. So right now my title is loan opener, which is, if you think of like a pyramid, at the bottom is loan opener. The second level is processor, loan processor. And the third is underwriter or loan officer. Two different roles. But for loan opener, I I will take in files, I'll organize the documents, I'll go through a checklist, I'll order a title report. A title
Mm-hmm.
report just says you want a clean title, because when you buy the house, you want it to say I own it, and you don't want someone coming out of nowhere and saying I actually own it.
So
So you
what could
want a
be
clean.
found at like a title report? Like tell us a little bit more about that. Like, what could
Yep.
be found on a title report that could be a problem?
Um, I mean, pretty much a title company will just do research on your home and they'll look into it. And if there's an issue with the title, if there's anything that's unclear, they want to try and solve so that it shows complete, like you own this thing 100%.
And
It's
so
more, it's
I
kind of
think
an insurance. It's kind of an
yeah, I
insurance.
think I've heard because we live in a state where like, okay, in Massachusetts things are kind of old. They're not as old as in Europe, but our houses, some of them are 200 or 300 years old. So I've heard of things that are very old coming up, like somebody owed somebody something on a mortgage or something from a super long time ago, and that could
Yep.
be found in a title report.
Yeah, technically, yes. It's really a lot of the orders, including the title report, it's all about ensuring that the house, because the house becomes like an investment, something that people are paying for and making money. Um, the bank wants to know that they're lending money for a house that is going to be, not complicated by outside issues. Just as the homeowner wants to know that they have this house and it's all theirs and no one's going to take it from them. So another thing we order is the appraisal. The
Okay, so what does that mean? What's the appraisal?
the appraisal is a valuation, or it's a measure of value. So they say if something is as valuable as the person selling it says. Um, so if someone says I'm selling my house for 100,000, and the appraiser and someone says, all right, I'm going to buy it. Person B, I'm going to buy the house. An appraiser would come in and say, yes, this house looks like it's worth 1,000. You're all good to clear a loan for this. And this actually is something that overlaps between real estate agent and mortgage. For a real estate agent, when you place an offer at a home, or if you're the seller, and you are receiving offers, there is something called a mortgage contingency. So if someone's going to buy your house for 500,000 and they say, the bank is going to lend me 400,000 to buy it. The bank is only going to do it if it says the house is worth 500,000. If it says it's worth 400,000, it's 80% on that smaller amount.
So so even though the person says I'm only taking out, they say that I'm only going to borrow 400,000. The bank is saying no because
it's
what the loan
we're going to offer you a
value.
little bit less, or a
Okay.
lot less. And it can throw off deals if someone can't get the mortgage they're expecting to get. Then sometimes the gap, they don't have extra money in their bank, and the deal falls through. So it's a pretty important, I would say, as a loan opener, it's the most important thing that we monitor is the appraisal. We want to make sure it's ordered. We want to make sure there's no complications with it. And most of the time it does appraise at the value it's being sold. But
So like when people are selling their houses, the real estate agent, are they figuring out how much that house is worth, and how are they figuring that out? Like,
that's
how
a
does they
great
figure?
question. That's an amazing question. That was the question I asked myself, like literally the first 3 to 4 months of getting my license. And there's a couple ways to figure it out. One, you can do a comparative market analysis, and you look at houses that are a similar size in a similar area that are either on the market now or that were sold recently. And you go through the house. Let's say each house, let's say comparable one, you have the subject property, which is the house you're selling. And then you have 3 houses that you're comparing it to. The first one, all right, has 3 bedrooms. They both have 3 bedrooms. All right, looks about the same there. Maybe it has one extra bathroom, or the bathrooms aren't as nice a quality. And you could say, oh, the subject property has nicer bathrooms than the comparable. And after you do that for about an hour and a half, you can figure out roughly where you'd price it. And there's one other way that I've been using a lot for myself lately, and that is dollar per square foot. So if square footage is about space in the house, lots of square footage, lots of space, small square footage, smaller house. And you take, if you're going to sell a house for 100,000, well, actually, hold on. So yeah, so you would take the value, the price of the house, 100,000, divided by the number of square feet in the house. So let's say it's 1,000 square feet. If you do 100,000 divided by 1,000, it's $100 per square foot.
Oh, okay. All right, that's a good idea.
Now imagine if you sell the house for 50,000. And so now you do 50,000 divided by 1,000, and that would be, sorry, I'm like, would that be $500 square foot, or would that be $50? It would be $50
I think 50, right? Half of it.
$50, half of it. If your son was here, he'd help.
Yeah.
Us. But so now it's $50 per square foot. So in one house you're paying $100 per square foot, and one you're paying 50. The 50 one's a better deal, right? Because you're paying less per square feet. That's another way. You can look at all the houses in the town. You could say, all right, looks like all the houses like in Worcester or in Leominster, a lot of the houses are 250, 275, 310. So if I was going to list a house, I would probably want it to be similar. If I put it at like 150, then people will be getting more value. And I probably would want to raise it. I mean, there's some strategy into where you place it, but that's definitely one way to know how expensive or how I'm going to price a house.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Oh,
Those
yeah, it
two ways.
does. It does. Let's see. So I'm trying to think. So as far as like you got this job, you left us. It was very sad. You left us at Mass Edco, but is this a job that you like? I always say to my students and stuff, a job that you like to go to on Monday morning is like that's like perfect, or a job that you really like to do, like you're not really working, like because you really enjoy the
Mhm.
job. I'm getting that quote wrong, but
Yeah.
like how do you like these jobs? These two jobs, real estate agent and
Yeah.
mortgage opener.
Yeah. Well, I think I like it as much, if not, it's different because at Mass Edco, it was a great opportunity to work with people every day. And the clients, their expectations were much more stable. You kind of knew roughly like the clients were either going to be nice or just kind of there going through the motions, but there's not a lot of up and down as far as those interactions. What I'm finding, like with real estate, you'll deal with people that make you feel good, and you'll deal with people that at times make you don't feel like that way. We put in an offer that was really below what they were asking for, my buyer and I, and the agent, he basically he was like, listen, bud, like I'm gonna teach you. I'm like he was really upset, and I had so for real estate agent, I think, but there are also a lot of great things about it. You really can you can operate the business as if you're the owner. I do everything that I do because I think it's like the right thing to do. I do check with people and I learn and listen, but there's a part about it that you're kind of doing your own style. Um, and for mortgage, the job I'm in now, it is tough. I do work really hard, but I feel that I'm learning everything. And once I get to the loan officer part, I'll have really learned, I'll have gone through the beginner, medium, I'll have gone through all the stages so that the information will be in my head and I can answer the questions, with the right answers. And I would say that's what I'm really looking forward to the most when I'm purely like I'm just a pure agent, just getting all my business through just meeting people and not not organized, still organizing, but just being more people oriented. I think that's going to be the job of my dreams when I get there, working as like just an agent for both of the sides of it.
Okay. I
So
have one question. Somebody wants to know where you graduated from. I think you told me, but I forget.
I graduated college from UMass Amherst,
Oh, okay, right. You
Michigan
know
State
what?
School.
I'm going there on Wednesday with my new coworker Adriana for the tour.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
it. They add a new building there every semester almost, and it's I would recommend. Let me know what they think. If they have any questions, let me know.
I will. I don't think you met. Maybe you did, Adriana, when we had our whole gathering. She's the new person in our office. But we're going to drive there and do the tour. I think I did the tour a couple years
Yes,
ago.
yes,
Um,
I do remember Adriana. I do.
yeah, yeah. So I'm trying to so now I want to kind of talk about how you taught English. I know that you haven't been doing it so much, but you actually had gotten a certification to teach English, and you would teach English to people local in the Worcester area where we live.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, let's see. I worked in a classroom. I would say I volunteered in a classroom for a semester. I was a teacher in the classroom for a semester, and then I've done private tutoring since.
Okay.
Um, and I would say if I had to if I was that it's my third place job, I would say English teaching English is right behind what I'm doing for the mortgage and real estate. Um, but yeah, I like to prepare materials. I go off the calendar year, and I'll just do 45-minute to an hour sessions with people, just going over nouns, verbs, all the elements of English, pretty much.
Yeah, and so you got what was the certification for teaching English that you got? I know you told me,
The
but I forget.
Yeah, the TEFL certification.
TEFL.
TEFL. Yeah.
Okay, TEFL certification, and then you taught people that were like immigrants to the Worcester area. Is that what you did?
Yeah, I taught one married couple. Um, and then I taught just two friends. I think for profession, since we're talking about jobs, one of the guys worked in an auto body. He painted
Mm-hmm.
cars, repaired damaged cars. One of them worked as a painter, painting houses, and another was a builder. He did construction. And then I think the auto body, his wife was a cleaner. Worked for a
Okay.
cleaner. Yeah, but
And what was your
yeah,
like your method? I know you said you would teach like nouns and verbs. What was your like? What did you find was the best way to teach them?
yep. I would say I would prepare presentations on Google Slides and pretty much my job was to put everything on a platter and make it just as easy as possible for them. As long as they participated, my hope was that they would reuse the words enough in that time to learn the words. And I use pictures a lot. I use repetition in asking a question the same way, but with a different, maybe a photo of a book. What is this? This is a book. What is this? This is an apple. Um, I definitely utilize a lot of visual um, material because I think I think that's just how you learn. You present it in you present your senses. Hearing, seeing. Um, you just do it over and over, and hopefully it sinks in. But that was my presentations and lots of pictures.
Right, and I remember you were making all kinds of Google slideshows for it. I have somebody that's saying that you're an all-arounder. I think because you do the teaching, English, and the mortgages, and the real estate agent, and all that. So, like, definitely all-around type of person there.
You know, my plate is completely full. I'm not adding or trying to learn anything outside of the things I do. But um, when I was in college, I tried to learn Russian, and that inspired me. And I was reading those books like I'm going to the airport, and just seeing the translations. And so I always had a little interest in teaching English. I always had these jobs like Mass Edco. Before Mass Edco, I did mentor, like a best buddy or a big brother type of deal. But I always had extra hours. Mass Edco is 35 hours. The therapy was like 30 hours. So teaching English, it was like I could add that in there and get my 40 hours. So the combination of wanting to teach, and then once I started teaching, it's like if you played in a basketball game and you made like 5 threes in a row, you feel like that type of excitement and happiness walking out of the classroom if you felt like you did a good job. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
So
I,
you
I,
said
I got hooked. Yeah,
you were trying to learn Russian. Did you ever go to Russia?
I did go there once with my class at the end of after like a month after college. And I don't try and learn it anymore, but I actually would. My fiance is Brazilian, so I'm actually going to try and learn Portuguese. I'm getting Rosetta Stone.
Oh, that's
Uh,
awesome. I have some Brazilian students in my group. In fact, one of them, he was actually going to join us tonight, but I don't know what happened to him. But Portuguese is very similar to Spanish. In fact, I'll tell you, the other day at work, I went on a field trip, and my group, there was one boy and he did not speak English, so he took his phone and he's like, and he's pointing because he's using Google Translate, and I was like, okay, that's Portuguese. So I said, hablas español, and he said, sí, and so he could understand enough, and I could speak to him. He was in a different group actually, and he wanted to be in my group because he didn't understand English, and his friend was in my group. So I was able to talk to one of the other teachers and switch them, and I was really proud of myself because usually at work, if somebody speaks Spanish, my coworkers will just speak to them, but I had to speak. And I was like, okay, I think people that speak Portuguese usually can understand Spanish. So I just tried that and it worked. And I was like really proud of myself that I used Spanish on the job.
Nice.
So, I think it's awesome if you actually like know another language when you're teaching English, because you can understand like what our students are going through, right?
Yeah, it's definitely, it's a good card to play. If you happen to be fluent, it's like you're just better off. That's for sure.
And what did you find like the challenges of the challenges to learn Russian? Because I think some languages are harder than others.
Mm-hmm. I kind of got to a point. I can read it pretty well actually. I can write it. I spend a lot of time making flashcards for it. But I would just say, living in America, there's just almost no opportunity to speak Russian. And if you do, it's like you're talking with someone that's fluent and you're a beginner.
There are a lot of Russians that like in Massachusetts, but not so much in Worcester. There used to be a Russian store in Worcester, Moscow Nights, and there's a big Russian community in Framingham. We have Laurel, who I made a video with. She's in the chat, and she said something that's great. I didn't get the TEFL, but some other certifications. Oh, she teaches English, so I think she's just saying what she does. And then she says it's great to teach and then practice. So, I think that like learning a language like Russian when you speak English is very difficult because it's a completely different alphabet and structure and everything. It's not related to English, while learning Spanish or learning like German or something is more related. You're going to have some commonalities of the language that'll make it easier. So that's why I wondered, like, how hard was it for you to learn it?
I would say I actually don't think it was. I played piano when I was younger, and I feel like I always, with Russian, I knew that understanding the pronunciation was so important, so that you could memorize the word the right way, that when you hear it. And I would say it's just the tense. There's 6 cases. The ending of the noun changes depending on in English. I think it's just a little bit simpler. But even so, I think that if I had just kept practicing, I would have learned it. But I was kind of at a stage where I'm sure a lot of your students are, when you read it every day, you might listen to it sometimes, but I just was never speaking it. And it kind of, but I still cherish the process, and I'm looking forward to learning Portuguese.
Yeah, I think that listening to it is super important because you develop an ear for the language, and that's what I'm doing now more. I was spending a lot of time, and I think the way they teach in school is like book learning. You learn the grammar, you memorize for a test, and that's it. And they don't really teach you pronunciation, they don't teach you speaking, and they don't emphasize listening to the language. So right now for Spanish anyway, and I'm also starting with Italian. Some of my members are like polyglots, and I want to become a polyglot. So I'm just starting the baby steps in Italian, is like listening to the language and getting an ear for the language, so that way, I can understand it more. So I think that's super important. I have Kristen from my Spanish English group, which I'm going to be teaching a class for Kristen's. That's what I was talking about earlier. He's saying saludos from Spanish English Club. So thank you for joining us, Kristen. I see a bunch of others from that group, and I'll be teaching a class. Maybe Sam might join us, I'm hoping. I don't know if it will work out for his schedule, but maybe he will someday. But I'm going to be teaching a class to your group, Kristen. And Laurel says she interviewed, she interviewed a Brazilian this morning on her Instagram. So I'll send you a link to that. She had one of her students, and he never really got a chance to. I think it was probably one of his first times speaking to somebody in English and being recorded, which can be kind of like nerve-wracking. Yeah. Like some people I ask come live with me, and I can just imagine if somebody said, like if Kristen from the Spanish group said, come live on YouTube and speak Spanish, I'd be like, I don't know about that. I'm like a little bit nervous to do that. So I think it takes a lot of bravery, and I will push my students into like that extra step to be brave. Let's go live and speak English. But I haven't done it in Spanish yet.
Yeah, maybe do a test run first and see what things they can or can't do, and then cater it for like a successful video call or something.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I'll get there. I think eventually, I'm sure I will. One of my people in group will have their own YouTube channel in Spanish, and they'll say, Rochelle, come live on my YouTube channel and speak Spanish, and I'll get up the guts to do that and push myself out of my comfort zone. So I think it's awesome. And so some of you are asking how you can come on to one of these. I usually like to get to know people better. And once I get to know people better, then I will invite them to my group, and I'll invite them to the live. So that's how you get an invitation. Usually I have a group of like 6 or 7 people, but I think some people had bad internet. I know Fatima from Bangladesh was going to join us, and Adelson from Brazil was going to join us. Huan, who is like Dr. Huan from Vietnam, she's a professor. She was going to join us, but I think she might be sleeping because it's super early in the morning. So basically, I usually will have a group of like 6 or 7 people on, and they're people that I've really gotten to know, and they all get to know each other too. So it's much more comfortable when they get on, because like they're comfortable already talking to each other. So going live with me, I think, is a little bit more comfortable than if they went live with a bunch of strangers. So that's how, if everyone's wondering how you get an invitation to come live with me, you usually get to know me, and then I will invite you to my group, and that's how it works. So let's see. So when did you were teaching these people, and then when did you kind of stop doing that, teaching English?
You already know.
I know that, but not everyone else knows.
Well,
I'm pretending that I don't know, because the people watching don't know that.
Do you remember when I was trying to make the outline for my tutoring sessions? And you were like, in August, you were like, "Hey, how's it going?" I'm like, "Good, I'm almost done." And then in like November or December, it's like, I'm not even close to being done. And
like, just teach. You don't need, you know what? You don't need that. You can just use Google Pictures. You can
yeah. Here's the thing. For one, I do think I am going to pivot and do more what you're doing. But I want to, partly why, there's 2 things. One, when you're a new teacher, like I went and I did the cheaper TEFL certification. And a part of me, and I think I said this last time, like I kind of wish I paid more money to have had better teaching, because there is a part of me that there's still a lot that I need to learn on how to teach. And so, and I'm not shying away from that at all. Like I do think, like if I want to go from beginner teacher to medium teacher, I just got to read through. I got to look through a textbook. I got to make notes about it. And I don't want to charge people money if I'm not giving them an amazing experience. And that is why I want to play the long game. I don't want to just, all that stuff. It's just about, if I'm prepared, it's a different experience. But I think I might pivot to what you're doing with YouTube, because I'd much rather make a 3-minute video and get it out there than to spend 20 years in my office working on a presentation of I haven't even given. So I think I'd much rather prefer to make shorter pieces that people can go look at right now than to teach than to tutor pretty much.
I was saying that's exactly what we should do. Like Laurel, who's in the chat right now, and we made this 10-minute little dialogue. Laurel's great. She typed up and she made the dialogue. And then we recorded it, and then we went through all the different things, like what does this mean? What does that mean? And I think we should do that too. And like, here's the thing, we can do that, and we can put it on my channel, we can put it on your channel, which you're going to create, and we can do some awesome stuff together, right? Because I think people would love to learn from you, and you don't need to create all these Google slides.
You know,
you really don't.
Pretty much my plan was to go through the calendar year, in the fall season, the winter with the snow, and the summer with the beach, and just having it all on a platter for people but it's just, I'd rather take my time with that, and then in the meantime do something that people can use now and look at and learn from right now. So that you and I know, I would say I know how to take a picture and teach. We'll just have to do it together. It's hard to explain.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, well, actually, I took this class with the Spanish English group that Kristen is in, and what they did was really awesome. They just took this picture. It was like this picture of a classroom, and it had all this stuff happening. It was an art class, and they had people describe it. And if you had just a tiny bit of English, you could describe it in your little bit of English that you had. And if you had intermediate English or advanced English, you could just describe it. And then someone was typing some of the sentences and some of the vocabulary on. And you can do that with things like Jamboard, or like, it's very easy to do that, right? And I think that was awesome because it was a lesson that everyone could take part in. And then we did the same thing in Spanish. So we first did it in English, and then we did it in Spanish. And I loved it because everyone could take part, no matter what level of the language. So that's what I'm actually planning to do for Kristen's group, is to kind of do a similar lesson, like get some great pictures and have everyone describe those pictures with lots of stuff happening. They can describe the color clothing, they can describe what the weather's like, they can make up a story about it, and everyone with different amounts of English can describe, they can get more detailed depending on their level. Laurel is saying it was his first time talking to a native, she's talking about the person that from Brazil, that it was his first time talking to a native speaker, her, and our second conversation was today. So that was a conversation she had with a Brazilian student. But in any case, I think, like, you don't have to get I think that, like, you're spending so much time planning out how you're going to do it, and you could just do it, and you don't even need, like, Google has everything we need. Like, I could just, like, Google beach and then pictures, and then we can just talk about the pictures we see, right? And people can see that. I can share the screen, and everyone can see that, and I can say what color, is the sky, or, whatever. What are the people, like, people can describe what they see.
I mean, I definitely think that all the information is already out there, but I think, maybe to find the right book, maybe not to invent a new book, but to just find the right one. I can settle with that, but I just think, everyone learns differently, and there's a lot of materials out there teaching the same exact way. And I think, like, there is picture learning, but even those picture learning ones, I see not issues with the books, but here's the thing. If I could choose two just specific subjects, not following the calendar year and going through the seasons, the two other concepts I would work at is basic business English. For if you were like a store owner and did not know English, I would like to have like 10 to 15 presentations. We could go through them all, and then that person would know how to take someone, how to greet someone at the door, how to sign them up for the service, how to basic that one, and then conversational English, which is like it's wide open. You know, you can teach it out of a textbook, you can teach it you can teach it a million ways. Conversational English. I would say those three subjects I would be interested in like preparing some materials for.
Okay.
But
Well, keep on preparing it, but then start making your YouTube channel. Let's get going.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely it's in my scope. It's just it comes.
I know you're really busy. I like working 2 jobs, which why I asked you about that is I think the reason for working the 2 jobs is one is that the real estate job that you're talking about, that's 100% commission, right?
Real estate is 100% commission.
So if you don't sell anything, you don't make any money.
Yes, but when you do,
you make a lot. But if you don't sell, so you need the other job. You need the mortgage job to be like your main job right now. So that's why I was getting at why you work in those 2 jobs, because I already knew why. Like, it makes sense. So I mean, they go well together. But you know, if I was to ever take that plunge like you, I would do the same thing. I would get a job in mortgages as my day job, and then I would kind of dabble in the real estate while I'm trying to like make it in the real estate.
I think partly why I'm not 100% commission right now is because I gotta pay my bill. I'm looking at real estate as a way to bolster my savings, and then that will give me the cushion to go fully commission for both. And hopefully enough deals just get struck so we never run out.
Well, that's the part of me that I don't like. I tried that, and if you do that, wonderful. I just don't have the stomach for that. Somebody said he goes by support. He said he should definitely start up a YouTube channel. So there you go. You have your first subscriber right now. I think he will subscribe to you as soon as you start that YouTube channel.
Rochelle, you're my first subscriber.
Oh, I know. I'll be first, and then it'll be supporter. It'll be the second one.
All right, good. I'll follow you both back at the same time.
Absolutely. So, this has been great. Thank you so much. Just trying to think if there's anything else that we missed.
No. Did we answer all the questions? Or?
I didn't have any questions written, really. Did anybody else have any questions? I didn't prepare any. I was really expecting, I think I told you I thought we were going to have 4 or 5 people or more, but I don't know what happened to them. But I don't see any more questions out in YouTube land. Otherwise, I think we're going to say good night to everyone and thank everyone for their time. And we'll be doing another live. I don't know when yet, but maybe in about 2 weeks. And I don't know what the topic is. Claudia says, I will be the third. Oh, another one, Claudia. Claudia, where are you from? Claudia will be your 3rd subscriber. So you already have 3, and I'm sure you have a whole bunch of others.
I mean, that's already 3 more than I expected. So.
Yep.
Perfect.
All right. Well, thank you everyone so much for joining. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't, and share the channel. And I will say goodbye to people. You can stay on for a couple of more minutes. Oh, Julio, I just want to say hello to Julio. He's going to also teach that class with me. He's in the group. I don't know if you saw her before. He's from Bolivia. So, Julio, sorry for the fact that you joined a little late, but hello and goodbye. We're just about to end. Bye-bye. All right, so